Today we're going to go over a tier list of what are the strongest classes in ICC as it pertains to DPS specifically. This is focused more so from the guilds that are trying to min-max, but it's going to give you a good example of how things should perform in your own raids if you're looking forward into ICC with kind of ICC BIS gear. Now I did this breakdown today with my boy Pummel. You can check him out in the description of the video. Also, this is the first time I tried to cut one of these videos with like an AI cutting, so it's going to move through it decently quickly, hopefully to make things a lot faster for you guys. I kind of did a quick pass through to make sure that it worked pretty decently. So this is also always going to be subjective, guys. If you guys in your own guilds have a different experience, that's totally fine. It's going to happen all the time. But with the rebuff of the feral druids, this is probably going to be the estimation of what we're going to see in most groups, especially if we look towards phase 5 as well when we get Halion. So a lot of people are probably going to be upset, or a lot of people are going to be hyped. Unfortunately, I would say that the class that needs the most love is probably going to be Enhanced Shamans moving into this phase. But I'll just let the video speak for itself, and you guys can let me know in the comments about how much you think I'm wrong, and we'll find out, I guess. Thanks, let's do this. Actual Chad classes this phase, the real tier list. This is full BIS when you are stacked up and ready to go. How do you feel about it? Let's go. I guess we have Assassination Rogue. Let's just go down the line so when we see Assassination Rogue is here.
I think that the ARP classes are going to excel, obviously, when you get more ARP gear. So I would probably say that an Assassination class, which is mostly scaling off of haste, is going to be B. I think we should probably change these now to instead of
that's true. S plus S A B C.
Yeah, for end game.
Yeah, I agree.
End game DPS based on the meters, and I think you should auto put and see what we already know just to get them out of there. You know, BM Hunter we know isn't extremely competitive or exceptional, but there are good players for it. Same with Frost Mage. There's good arms players, but not everybody's gonna be playing it. Destro as well. You know, Arcane, just the ones that
let's be real. Yeah.
Let's be real. All the mages, if you're playing Arcane out there, I apologize profusely, but I know 95% of you want to play fire and love seeing the big crits as a dopamine straight to the brain.
And the interesting thing is Arcane has such great damage on some simulations and short fights and stuff, but fire is just gonna be cranking, and stacking fires is going to be so nice, and you're just Arcane, we're just not going to see it as much. There's going to be some that do really, really well, but you're essentially not going to see it. Okay,
I think Assassination is fatty B. You got to give it a little bit of credit where credit's due. The gear is in their favor, with Tiny A-Bomb, and I forget the other trinket that they use, but it has the opportunity to be exceptional, just not more exceptional than any other classes above it.
All right, I can Tiny B, say it louder. I like Assassination in B. Retribution Paladins. This is interesting because I think what we should focus on for this is including Halion phase 5, because that's Ruby Sanctum they said it'll be out pretty quickly. I think Rets jump way up the list and they get insanely strong, but they don't really get shit from phase 5 coming out, and that's where Rets could be the kind of more Chad than Warrior, and then we get phase 5 and Warrior get one trinket that allows them to regem everything.
Wait, can we have little notes of this class received the buff and others didn't? Because that thing, that purple mace you're holding, that's an S+. I don't care what anybody says. Without Shadowmourne in TOGC gear right now, we have Ret Paladins topping the meters, and it's not even it's not even good for that. They're not in good gear. It's just oh, this is solid. Rets are going to be dumb. There's no shot they're going to be anywhere lower. It's going to be disgusting, and we're all going to be pissed.
I'm fully of the stance that Rets are going to be better than almost everybody expects. They were always planned to be good this phase, but they weren't really looking that good. The buffs that they got were great. Their interaction with proc items in specific Tiny A-Bomb, and then we can translate that to Shadowmourne, are so stupid. It's so stupid good. And then you have your spin to win your tier 10 set that you're just constantly proccing your Divine Storm. Retribution Paladins are going to be very, very, very solid. And when you get to Shadowmourne Prow, it's they're just there with Fury Warriors, and you could see Rets out pumping anyone on certain fights. Not anyone. There's the 2 classes that are kind of the Chad.
Maybe I'm like coping a little bit,
Maybe.
but like when we were doing our Cindy prog, like they were like our number 1 damage on Cindy was our Ret Paladin. If you take out the ice tombs, like I was just floored at and then I was thinking, what if he has like Shadowmourne and he's canceling the proc and he's got Taj, he gets like 1500 DPS from those 2 items alone,
But
and I just see them blowing up.
I think they should be. I think there's 2 classes that kind of outshine everything. If you look at S plus, towards the end of this phase, that like I think Retribution goes into actual S tier. They are very Chad. Shadowmourn's gonna be juice, and I think anyone that's like, oh, but you have to get Shadowmourne first. It's like 5.5 weeks on average, right? Shadowmourne changes made it so that all Shadowmourne classes should be considered as like, if you're looking at tier lists, that they will have it, right? It's no longer like only if you get Shadowmourne, but it's like you will get it, right? Like you will get it.
S is a good home for it because there's a lot that we don't know, but the change definitely altered their trajectory, in my opinion.
Very much so. The changes made them so much better. They were gonna be like high
They're gonna be good,
but like they were like, it's like a huge
they have
jump.
the potential to be great. Yeah,
they can be absolutely amazing. I'm actually going to jump to the bottom. How do you feel about elemental shamans?
I think they're going to be A. I think they're going to be solid.
Do you have the sheet with like the breakdowns of everyone's just flat raw numbers from?
No, I don't.
Yeah, me neither.
Not in front of me.
I think elemental shamans also, it's very good. They'll be able to get like huge fucking Ellie's too. I think they'll get some crazy Ellie's. They're just not going to be like the other classes that are like S and S plus, which are going to be in their own like kind of realm. I think Ele Shamans are going to look very solid. I think they're going to be also super fun for anyone playing it. They're going to be giga decked out, and they just have like insane haste.
Yeah, I definitely think I see in the chat someone's playing
Jonas,
Spell Hands, and they're going to shift to Ellie. I think that a lot of enhances, if they plan to continue to play Shaman, are going to do that, as people, aka hunters, swap to MM, and people swap to like Blood DK tanks for like Lich King because they're really OP.
Yeah, I think we see it. Blood DKs. I mean, all right, I'm just going to do it now. The fall, Unholy DKs. Just reroll. I love you. We've literally had the entire expansion.
Thank you.
Yeah, you've been the best class by far, the entire expansion. This is my favorite class. This is the Chads. You guys, you're going like Frost or Blood, either one. Unholy DKs, you can actually get Shadowmourne. The Shadowmourne Unholy DK is simming higher than a normal 2-mana dual wield Unholy DK, and people are testing out a bunch of different numbers. I know Enthos is working on a bunch of simulations to figure some stuff out. Shadowmourne is more of a parse spec. It's less of an overall raid spec, like the 2-handed spec, but your guild is gonna bring one Unholy. You're always gonna have one Unholy.
I think they're A, to be honest, because I don't think you fall from S plus to B, no matter how bad the gear is. Because you got to remember, some of them are gonna have Shadowmourne, right? Like they have a legendary. They're not gonna fall that far from Grace. They're just not gonna be like 10 of them in a raid, which
There's gonna
it's
be
about damn time.
There's
a little bit less dark red in the raid.
I'll put them at the bottom of A. The thing is, you're gonna just swap. You're just gonna swap. It's like an easy, quick thing. You're gonna get a couple pieces of gear, and you're literally gonna go Frost. Like you are realistically, you're just gonna go Frost, and you're gonna go Frost Unholy, and it's gonna be a pretty quick swap for progression. Like we talked about earlier, Unholy DKs are literally like the Giga Chad. It's going to fall from grace. You're going to keep one in your raid. And maybe if there's like crazy good fast fights and you can get like insane procs, you've got like Deathbringer's Will chose to give you Giga Chad proc, right? There's fights where you could see him topping the meters. Yeah, I'll give him the bottom of A though. If like on average throughout this raid, it's really not going to be your place to be, unfortunately.
We jump to the number 1 spot.
Oh, the number 1
Fire
spot?
Mage, baby. Put Fire Mage up there.
Fire Mage is so good, so strong. I know I keep switching to this thing really fast. I do want to mention before we move on is like always there's a lot of like notes in here to watch out for and like how things are kind of going through the sims, so you can be wary. But a lot of people just look at sim numbers on things, and even with classes going to see how they can make their class sim the best, always be wary when you see numbers like this. It's just a really good estimation. That's not even a real word. They did a good job putting this together, but always be cautious. But Fire Mage, holy shit, stackable, and they just fucking pump. Like, you're making 3 mages, you said, Pummel?
I have 2 mages, and let's just say they finally got their
Estimation, yeah. Yeah, they finally got Bloodbind. They're actually gonna crank. Just wait. Fire Mages shoot up the meters.
Their 4-piece is so OP. Like 18% damage for 30 seconds on pull with Lust is such a crazy 4-piece. Like I'm jealous. Like the Warlock one only gives not that much. Like for 30 seconds too. That's badass. So I think Fire Mages are going to be the number 1 this entire tier, even with the Shadowmoor boys.
Really? You think they're going to beat everyone?
I think they're going to beat everyone.
I think it's between the 2 Chad classes this phase, and it's yet to be seen. I think we're going to need to see how they fix or change some of the things that we're going to get to experience in this next PTR. But the 2 Chad classes are Feral Druid and Fire Mage. These are the pumpers.
That's a good spot for Feral. I like that.
Yeah,
it's right there.
These are the guys that, like, these are the stackable classes. These are the classes that are going to dominate this phase. I think in your average raid, Fire for sure is going to destroy too. It's not as complex single target rotation as Feral, but Feral's like whatever, and it does, like, you'll have a better setup in most raids for your Fire, right? Like, it'd be nice if your Feral always had like your main Ferals like have Hysteria coming to them. They've got fucking another Feral or whatever that can keep up Mangle, right? But Feral is just looking so good, and I think Feral on huge cleave fights will just kill things before Fire Mage can even start cranking. Feral is looking like...
Feral's not that complex with the OOC changes anymore. Before, you were like shifting out of form, popping a bunch of just random crap to try to force Omen of Clarity procs. But now it's pretty straightforward, and I think it's pretty fun. I have 3 Ferals. I have 1 Oceanic, 1 EU, and 1 NA. So I've been having a fun time just going around the world with my Ferals, and it's a pretty fun class. And they're not that insane to gear either. Like, the gear for them is not very shared with other classes. Like, weapons especially, like I got the glaive today, and I was using the Yogg polearm, and that was 500 DPS.
Oh, its weapon is so big, it's so dumb.
They scale so fast and so hard. So I like Feral. So I'm biased, I guess.
I think I'm not biased. I think looking at it from the perspective of, like, if you look at, let's say, any of the top guilds and what they're anticipating for next phase, no one really knows. These are the 2, right? It's like, these are the 2 everyone's really looking at, and they're going to be like the best. And like, we know that these are going to be the best. So it's like, which one is going to be the Chad? Like, which one is going to be the most stacked or whatever, right? So these are the classes in their own league. Everyone's leveling Fire Mages and everyone's leveling Ferals. These are, so you think Feral is better than Combat? Yes, everyone thinks Feral is better than Combat, because Feral is better than everyone except for Fire Mage. They're like up here. So it's interesting too, because Fire Mage, I literally had him, like, you might not even bring them in progression, and now it's like, boom, that quick. And that's like literally within weeks. The difference in this change and getting geared is weeks apart. It's gonna be so fast that these classes really rise to fame. Fire Mage is looking really good. Feral's looking really good.
I think if we're rounding out S+, I don't think that you can put Fury up there without also putting Ret.
I don't think Fury can get to S+. I think Fury is right there on S tier. This is gonna probably cause some Fight Club rage, but I don't know if any of the world's best Fury Warriors would disagree with this from any of like the top guilds. Fury Warriors are going to get Shadowmourne. So you think about it, they're for sure getting Shadowmourne. They get a huge jump moving to phase 5, which is like fucking great. They're awesome. They are absolutely awesome. I think they are just slightly behind Feral and Fire Mage. And
I don't know. I think both of those deserve to be an S plus, baby, with big old Shadowmoor procs.
dude,
I don't know.
how can if everyone's an S plus, then no one is.
It's ICC. This is end game. We have tier 10 with OP tiers, and we're talking about two classes that both receive a legendary. The only reason Feral and Mage are up there because itemization is just better for them, and the changes to Ferals, and they don't have a legendary at all, and they're higher than the classes getting the big old orange. But it's just it's so close. Like the SS plus line is just like so close.
I think this is but I think usually you don't have like an S plus, and that's why it's reserved for like the specific. These guys will do the most damage and they'll be the most stackable. And so then S tier, I think you always see them in like a tier below, but it's not really like they're like much of a tier below. It's just you'll bring like maybe 2 Furies, maybe 3 Furies, but there was this huge copium early on that it was like, just wait till ICC and we're bringing all Fury Warriors. And that's like not happening. That's just not happening. It's just realistic. The buff to Feral really changed things for Fury in where it sits, and the buff to Ret really bumped Ret into a great place. So
do you think Ret or Fury deserves to be higher in that tier spot? Because I think Ret should be a little bit higher than Fury.
That's a good question. That's a good question, and I think that question is gonna cause a lot of drama either way I say it.
Screw the drama. We want the cold hard facts.
I think well, Fury's like not that complex. I mean, neither is Ret, right? But like a really, really good players, the difference is uptime. And I think we're gonna have like, there's a Ret in my guild who's literally #1 for Shadowmoor, and he's just a fucking goated player. He's gonna just destroy 99.999% of Fury Warriors. But there's also, I literally have Windy and Psycho in my guild as Fury Warriors, right? And they're just gonna fucking blast on overall damage. There's fights where the Ret's gonna win, and there's fights where the Fury is gonna win. And I'm curious, I like to think personally that Ret would win on overall damage just because of how crazy their procs are if they get good procs from their tier 10. And I think Ret would win, but I think it's just impossible to ever discount Furies. Like Furies always find a way. Warrior players always find a way.
It's official. Sarthe's been bought out by Fight Club. You heard it here first. Everybody spread the news.
I think average player Ret wins. Yeah. I think average player Ret wins, but I think I don't think there's someone better in this. I think they're there. Okay. I think you would bring, I have this idea that you would bring like maybe 2 Rets. That wouldn't be bad. I think 2 Rets would be fucking awesome. But I also
it's the new meta. You're so used to stacking Fury Warriors, but now the concept of 3 Ret Paladins is just so foreign. Just imagine the carnage if we think Rets are going to do more damage than Furies. Just imagine stacking 3 Giga Chad utility god classes instead of Fury Warriors and the carnage they can do. We're entering a new realm of speed clear meta. And we have the chance to make it right here, right now, if you swap those 2 icons.
I think it's funny because someone from my guild posted, he said Red is going to single-handedly drag that up. There's some Ret Paladins that are just going to just be so good. And that's like, and your average Ret is probably going to be better than your average Fury for the sake of like simplicity. It's interesting like how much skill goes into the difference and the overall of like any class, but like even a class where like there isn't that much stratification between the difference of your actual rotation. I want to say these are basically equal, but I think you're on average in most of your top end groups, or most groups, you're at the end of this phase, you're going to see more Fury Warriors than you're going to see Rets, right? You're going to see like 2 or 3 Fury Warriors per group than you'll see. And I think that's partially from the copium of thinking Fury is going to be the best class. But also it's just like, it is easy to bring multiple Furies, and everyone's been waiting for Fury. I think they're the same, man.
I think it's too close to call right now.
Yeah.
But if Fury still had their fire gloves, they'd be owning Rets.
Unironically, it'd be fucking hilarious. But yeah, I think Fury and Ret are like, they're like, if I could put an equal sign here, I think they're like very much the same. This S tier is really good. Okay.
Close enough.
Marksman Hunter. Wee woo.
I think it's below Ret and Fury, but above Ele and Unholy. So I would put that there. Nice and simple.
I think Marksman Hunter is looking really fucking good. The Sims have Marksman looking insane, which is interesting, but Marksman
need a lot of gear.
Yeah,
a lot of gear.
Marksman's gonna get all of their gear though, but their openers are gonna be fucking crazy, right? Your openers gonna be so pumper. You're gonna just be juicer. The quality of life of Trap Launcher is so nice for overall and for anything, right? Like anything that has ads or anything, you could just get extra damage in. I think Marksman is gonna look really good, and like you're gonna see some really good marksmans beating everyone in your raids like all the time. The marksman's rotation really isn't like the most complex, but like a really good player is gonna just do fucking crazy. I think you're gonna see marksmans topping the meters. It's interesting this phase where like everyone could top the meter on different fights.
It's cool to see. I kind of like it, like very script dependent, like everybody kind of has a chance to shine.
Yeah, exactly, right? There's like a ton of fights where marksman's just like not gonna beat any of like your Ret or like that. Yeah, like Syndragosa, you're just like seeing this Ret look so good and you're like, oh, and Ret's up here. So it's yeah, we finally, this is like the first time within a real raid where it's not necessarily other than 2 fights where casters are better, it's just Unholies or something, right? Like it's not the same way. We have a lot of difference, I think. But I still think in every fight, almost every fight, you're just going to see Fire Mage and Feral just doing their thing and having a good time. So I don't think there's any problem putting Marks in the bottom of S comparatively right now. Enhanced Shaman.
It's a toughie. I would say higher than Assassination in B and call it a day. The fact is they just don't scale very well with the gear. They have the potential to do a lot of damage, especially if there's like AoE in the fight and there's like mostly standing still for the fire alley. But it's unfortunate because like Enhance is the highest skill cap class in the game, and you are working so hard for high numbers that other classes like Fire Mage and Feral are doing with like auto attacks, and it's a shame. I love my Enhanced brothers, but they're just it's reality, and it's a tough pill to swallow.
That was really well said, to be honest. It's crazy how fun and how skill dependent this class can be, and how it just feels so bad that it's unrewarding, right? So that's all it is, right? It's just so unrewarding, and it's such a shame that they just like, I think we all had so much fun on like the beta or early on. It was like spell hands, then we're all going spell hands, we're all pumping. It's just it's just not there. Enhanced Shamans are just in their own world. And then if anytime you need to move a boss, it's like RIP that totem. So all right, Coper Pummel, biggest Coper in the world for Shadow Priest. Where would you put Shadow Priest, biggest Coper ever? Go.
Right below S tier, baby. Shadow Priest, fuck.
Oh my god, S tier Shadow Priest. S tier.
They do giga damage.
How does the world feel about give me an argument for Shadow Priest? Do you have one?
The 4-piece lets you just take Mind Blast out of irritation, so no more revitalized cock. No more of that anymore. Now we just do big damn. We got other revitalized people for us. That's about it. They just do a lot of damage.
They do. To be fair, I think, yeah, a good Shadow Priest, I mean, is already so fucking good. I mean, if you watch like speed runs, I think Progress has one of the best Shadow Priests. And he was just, his overall damage was just fucking ungodly always, right? I think a really good Shadow Priest, yes, absolutely. I think they do get into the S tier. I think on average, you'll see marksmen beat them on a lot of fights, but there's fights where Shadow Priest can just like pump, you can multi-dot, you can just go crazy. I think they're in like this S tier is definitely a different tier than Unholy. I mean, it's a different tier. So this S tier is really good. I think the difference.
I meant replenishment. Sorry, not revitalize. I'm dumb. Thank you.
Yeah, I think Shadow Priest is really going to be very, very strong. The gear makes them look good. The Sims make them look good. They're looking strong. Even though I keep saying I don't care about those numbers as much, but I think they do look good. So I'm in agreement. I don't really know if you'll ever bring 2 though. I don't see a point.
Yeah, you know? maybe S is like you might bring more than 1.
Yeah,
and A is like they do a lot of damage, but you won't. I don't know.
Because like all of these other classes in S, I could easily see you bringing more than one, right?
It's like, I mean, I wouldn't be upset if it was top of A. You know, it's borderline.
I'm just delete all of these ones and move everything.
I just want all the Shadow Priests to know that you own. Okay.
Yeah, I think Shadow Priest is right. I think your one Shadow Priest could easily shit on pretty much everyone. Excuse my language. So yeah, Shadow Priest, you're awesome. I think your only fault is the fact that I don't really see you being very stackable, but I think you're very, very good. Shadow Priest are gonna be amazing. If Crix was here right now, he'd be like screaming at the top of his lungs that Shadow Priest is S+.
He loves his Shadow Priest and Mage right now.
He does.
He's having a fun time.
Okay, but yeah, let's just say Shadow Priests are looking really, really good. You're amazing. I think at the top of A, you're like basically S. The only differentiator really is that you're not stackable, but you're gonna beat some of these classes in other fights for sure. Yeah, so that is, I think people need to hear that before you screenshot this and get mad. All right, balanced Druid, Boomkin, Sploomkin.
I think they belong there with a Shadow Priest.
I fucking fully agree. A Boomkin can have a crazy, crazy fight. Zan, thank you so much for the sub, by the way. Boomkins can have crazy fights. They can pop off. They can do a ton of damage. They feel so much better in this raid, and they're scaling well. They also bring the utility of battle res and stuff like that, innervate there. I think the Shadow Priest is stronger, but I think the Boomkin is also an A tier spec.
I mean, I love my Boomy brethren. I got yelled at for not giving them enough prio last loot sheet, but you really can't really argue with they bring like 7 buffs to the raid, including like B-res, innervate, and I could see a world where you could potentially have 2 of them, and if they get the right RNG, right crit RNG, they can top the meter in some fights. Like shout out Sabex and WeGo, that guy. He was the only Boomkin I saw. Like I was playing my DK in phase 1 before the nerf, and he would beat me on overall and Nax. He was just cranker. So this is their time to rise up.
What the fuck did you just say?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. He beat me on overall.
Damn it.
I was second. I thought I was cranking, and then his Sabex comes out of nowhere, man. He's built different.
Okay, we're moving on, dude. Demonology Warlock. You have a lot of knowledge on Warlocks. Give me your Demon Warlock.
I'd say that's a high B. Above Ele.
Above Ele.
Yeah.
I agree. It's still necessary. It's still there, but it's not like giga cranking. You're not too worried about it. It's crucial for your raid, but you're not stacking them. I think the only time demos could have been stacked was like Nax speedruns potentially, just because of the AoE damage that they could bring, and how quickly things died. But I think Demo Lock sits in B. Making an argument for it to be higher because of Demonic Pact doesn't really, like, it is essential to your raid, but I mean, so is one Unholy DK. I think Demo S plus Hadouken. Get out of here. Affliction Warlock. Where are you putting him?
All right, so this is going to be where my bias and controversy comes into play. S plus, not ahead of Fire and Feral.
S plus.
Bottom of S plus. Or if you want the real unbiased take, bottom of S.
Thank you.
Bottom of S, whatever. Maybe worse than the people who get legendaries. I don't know. Look, the S plus was a joke. Okay, relax.
Affliction Lock, I think in your average hug group or whatever is going to be like able to be more stackable, quote unquote, because it's like you have 1,000 afflictions already. They have some survivability. They're just a ranged class, which doesn't die. You can dot everything. But yeah, I think on most fights, you're going to see your marksman beat them. Both of your Shadowmourne Enjoyers are going to be out here out pumping. Afflictions are really strong, but there's few fights where they can really make usage out of like multiple targets, right? We mentioned earlier, like Saurfang is one for sure. Fucking Lich King, they look insane on Lich King. They're crazy, but we talked about progression already, and they were S plus tier for progression by far.
Shout out to Blizzard for finally bringing justice to the world by resetting Inferno. Afflictions everywhere rejoiced on that day, and the PTR is finally a paradise. We can frolic with the other classes as our biggest DPS cooldown resets. So thank you.
That's true. Right at the time where you're gonna fall from grace, but like not really, because like you're still really fucking good. And a really good affliction is like crazy. It's always so intriguing to watch something like watch Alondo or watch Take Note and see their damage comparatively to like everyone else in their raid, and like that one affliction is just like fucking popping off. Even like tricks aside, they're just like so fucking good. Really, affliction is one of the ones where when more things are happening, the skill gap really shows. And that's where you see Sarthe affliction just had the fucking dumpster fire of the meters. But that's my choice, you know. I think affliction is really good. I think it's more stackable than Shadow Priest, and that's why I would put it higher than Shadow Priest. And I think it is the bottom of S tier. It's easier to bring more afflictions than Shadow Priest, even if that technically wouldn't do anything different for your raid. It's like you're gonna see it way more often. I think affliction can sit in the S tier at the bottom and be there. How do you feel about Survival Hunter?
I don't know, man. I know a lot about MM from personal experience, but I honestly don't know a lot about survival in the context of this tier. Like in the PTR, they've been fine, but if we're talking about like end game, I don't think they'd be higher than Unholy, you know. But Trap Launcher changes the game entirely. It's kind of just like this mystery territory where I think they're still going to be good. I just don't know how good they are. Like maybe bottom A, maybe bottom B. I don't know. Like their AOE is second to none, and they bring all the utility of MM, but they don't scale with ARP as hard. So I don't know. I'm gonna leave this up to you as the resident hunter expert. Like you've been playing hunter for generations, so you put it where you feel like it's comfortable.
I think they're gonna crank, but they crank super hard in progression, and you're just gonna go marksman. And marksman is like a simpler spec. It's like you're just gonna go marksman and you're gonna do more damage, especially as you start getting gear. I think it'll look really solid. I think you could make an argument for like the bottom of A for like your survivals that are gonna stay and still do really good damage. But like I don't see you beating the Shadow Priest in full base. I don't see the point of it. I would put it the top of B. Personally, you need a demo lock and you don't need a survival hunter. And it's interesting because the utility you get from an Unholy is even better than the survival hunter. On AoE pulls, the survival hunter is fucking godly, absolutely insane, especially with trap launcher. It's nuts. If you could pre-trap an AoE pull with trap launcher, you'd be fucking nuts. The thing is, you're just gonna go marksman for the bosses. Realistically, trash is gonna die in like a few swipes. All trash is when everyone's full geared. Your Ret and your feral are just gonna like delete the trash before anyone does anything else, and it like doesn't matter. You're just gonna swap off of it, but it will. You could easily see survival hunters like out DPSing a ton of these other people. Their utility, it's just like it's almost like a why do it, right? That's
a good spot.
Yeah,
I accept that.
And then you also Shadow Priest on trash. Like by the time Fire Mage gets the crank going, it's already dead to the like. Literally, you just bring 3 ferals and like everything's gone. Like swipe enjoyers are it's too nuts. And then like you have like rogues. Oh, Blood DK Chads. That's a great time. Where's your Blood DK, Pummel? What do you think? The real Chad class Woims unite.
This is kind of like a mystery box of like I don't know what the hell I'm looking at. Because it's like a newish concept of a class that I haven't really heard about or seen before. Personally, like I know they've been doing some damage now, but I haven't seen many of them. I would just put them in A for ARP. Maybe they're good and not dog shit. Like I don't know. I seriously have no idea. Like Sims say one thing, but they're gonna need a lot of gear. So it's a toughie. I don't know.
I haven't looked at these sim numbers and like actually looked at the actual sims and like broken it down, but you don't need to Unholy Frenzy yourself because you would never do that. You would only Unholy Frenzy the Cranker, the Feral, and it also Unholy Frenzy is now going towards your own DPS on Warcraft logs, which I talked about earlier, right? Unholy Frenzy is going to you. It's your crank. Like, whoa, this Unholy Frenzy is mine now. which is going to make you look really good on the logs. I think Unholies are having a juicy time. Don't Unholy Frenzy yourself. It's so cheese. I would be so mad if you Unholy Frenzy yourself and I was a feral in your raid. I think it's going to be, I think it honestly could say an A tier, but it's also like one of those, like, why would you bring it? Which is the same as Survival Hunter. It could do really well, but like,
we have like a mystery box of like, what the hell am I looking at? Because it's supposed to be good, but they're like cheesing hysteria on themselves, but they need like DBW and Shadowmoor. Like, I just don't know what I'm looking at here. But like, how many DKs are going to get Shadowmoor unless they buy it? Like, I don't.
I think that I argue that every no, yeah, you're probably not gonna, you need Shadowmoor. There's very gear reliant. You need Shadowmoor. And I want to put them in A because it's hilarious, and it's also gonna start like an outroar on like the Discords where someone's like, the fuck, Demo Lock's not as good as Blood DK, and then Chris is gonna call me, and then I just think it's a fun class. It's gonna be an interesting. It's just why bring it. The big thing is like, why would you bring in a Blood DK? But I want to represent all my Wimes brothers. You can do well. You're just yeah, I don't know. Blood DK is in its own world. This is assuming full bis, yeah. But like, the only thing is Blood DK is not really, like, you're gonna get Shadowmourne probably if you buy it, but like your Fury and your Ret, like, you're gonna get Shadowmourne. There's no question about it. You're just gonna get Shadowmourne on your Furies and your Ret, like, and eventually your Blood DK will get it. Yeah. Only Feral complains about not getting Unholy Frenzy. Well, because they should get it. It would make no sense to Unholy Frenzy yourself. First of all, you were getting more damage on the logs. They fixed that. And like, why would you ever not give the Feral the Unholy Frenzy? I don't know.
Look who they got in here.
Look at this guy. Orlando, where would you put them? Demo? Unholy Frenzy works. It goes towards you. I think this one's the most like meme of them, but like not meme, but is meme. It's just, it just feels bad
up there, to be honest. Like, name 10 Blood DKs.
I know this is it's like it's the most frustrating. This one is like the most annoying, but like, it's like, it can do well. It's like all of your DKs, you're swapping to Frost anyways, right? So you're swapping to Frost. Hi, honey. You're swapping to Frost. Realistically, your Demo is more useful than your Frost DK. So you don't really need the Frost. I know, Lomu, your good Frost DKs are going to crank, but you need a Demo.
I think Frost is okay. Like, I'd put it in A. They have an Execute. They scale with ARP. I don't know. I wish I knew more about Frost DKs, but I think they're solid.
They are very solid, and they do really well. There's like, especially if you have procs, they'll pump on cleave. It's the only issue with Frost. The biggest issue with Frost is the fact that there's like Feral Druids and Fury Warriors that can do so much of the physical damage, right? Like, the only issue with Frost is that what if you have a Blood DK tank DPS, or like the Blood DK brings the Hysteria and the Frost buff, which would, I mean, make your Blood DK do absolutely dog shit DPS. It's hard. It's really hard. Get out of here, Windy. You're Unholy's. I don't think Windy is wrong. You need an Unholy too.
Like, you go like Unholy's like every like S like Giga Plus for Prog, yeah. Like you're gonna see stacking 3 and 4 of them. You think even like with a 30% buff, they're gonna drop from like the best to like lower than
the question
some
is,
of, like,
do we
Ele
have
Shamans?
the 30% buff?
I mean, by the time people are full bis, probably.
They've never announced that we're getting it.
They're gonna put it out eventually. We just don't know when.
So like, in a 30% buff, you're looking at these fights being a minute and a half.
I don't know, man. I mean, Blood Queen's gonna be like a minute and a half. I don't like, a lot of the fights are
30%
like,
buff.
I think it belongs in A for sure.
Unholy?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm okay with,
like,
but like
Frost like right below that.
But you're not like really bringing a lot of these guys. This is the big change. Is like,
yeah, but you're not bringing a lot of Shadow Priests. You're not bringing.
I guess A is nothing stackable.
You know, you're always gonna need one Unholy forever. And in terms of raw damage, it still produces results.
Frost will produce results in a lot of raids, but you also don't necessarily need a Frost. That's the difference. Unholy is like necessary. Demo is necessary. You're bringing these no matter what. You could bring 2 Shadow Priests, sure. But these guys are all just in a different realm. But yeah, whatever. Sure. And I mean, then you put like blood here too, and you're like, blood is the highest single target sim, but like,
What is it?
I think it is.
I'm pretty sure the sheet you had up had a
it has
Mage
Frost.
Where's blood? It looks down there underneath Frost.
But
I don't know.
Blood is blood just feels like blood decays, and you can go blood, but like it's also like why?
Easier rotation.
You have huge numbers. That 2-target cleave. There's so much cope though there. I love blood. I think they're awesome. I would put blood in having a good time. I'm gonna make a blood Shadowmourne Enjoyer.
Just throw it in there. Throw it in there where you think it's safe. I would put it in the mystery category below C of like, what the hell am I looking at? I don't know how to place this because it's such a weird and different concept than we've seen. So I don't know. You can put it wherever you want. Put it in S+++. Add a new category at the top. I'm
just throwing blood there so that we can get people riled up.
Controversy at its best.
All right, Destro Warlock. Would you ever go Destro Warlock? I guess none of these classes are really existent except for Combat Rogue. Now that's the only thing.
BM was in the best speedrun in the world for a minute.
That was for a day.
It was a good day.
They held the record for a day. We rated the next day. In Old War, I think BM is in Old War. Unironically, I think BM was better than Ret. And I don't know if our Ret would fully disagree. BM Hunter was the best 3%, I think, but our Ret player is just so good that we would bring our Ret over the BM forever. I mean, he leveled a BM Hunter towards the end. We just didn't gear it. But it's not really the case anymore, obviously, right? Rets are fucking great now. But yes, BM Hunter unironically was super good for Old War speedruns. Your speed also could be useful in ICC. It could, but like not as it's needed for a 3% buff, but you could see its utility really useful with like MD, improved aspect of the pack, things like that. Yeah. So
time to round it out with
we'll see. Combat Rogue. Combat Rogue sims make them look like dog doo-doo.
I think they're okay. I think they're high B, low A.
I think
they're good.
I think the tricks damage, and I hate that Combat doesn't see any of the like what they get back from tricks, and now they're tricksing even more. I think they're so much better than everyone thinks they are. From seeing just like DPS numbers in sims and stuff, I think Combat Rogue is really fucking good. I think there's times when they have their CDs and they just fucking pop off like crazy. I think Combat Rogue is going to be really, really good. I want to put them in the A. Their utility's great. They never die. Their cleave is the strongest in the game when it's up, but that's like the longest CD in history. But I think the reasoning I like Combat Rogue so much is just how much you can get out of like tricks. If you like look at the bottom of the meters every time you look at just tricks with the trade damage, and in a good raid, the tricks damage is like in a different world. Yeah, I guess rogues are for POV. It's just that they have ways of getting away out of things. I think we get 30% buff, like everything dies faster and everything juices up, and then all of a sudden you see like some copers go like fucking arcane mage. But I would like to put Combat Rogue in the A tier for the sake of we just don't see the damage they get from tricks, and even with their set bonus, tricks is just so. I just think tricks is so nice. That's like a lot of damage for the raid. I
want to put them higher than Unholy, to be honest. They're good. They're not that good.
I think they're. Yeah, I just wish they would fix that on the logs. It just makes them look shit. Like if you look at them on the logs, you're gonna be like, here.
I don't know about all that. I think they'll be higher.
But
dead last.
I think yeah, they could be bottom of A. I think they're gonna be better than everyone expects, personally. But I realistically, like the difference in all of these classes is so small this phase compared to like every other phase where literally Unholy was in its own league and Affliction was like right there too, and like every other phase, it's just been that. And I think we have the options this phase potentially for that to be the same with Fire Mage or Feral or both. But then everything else is like not really that far. No one's really going to fall that bad. You'll need your Demo Lock more than you'll need a Survival Hunter, obviously. Shaman DPS you're gonna have a ton of fun, but like this, it's not like you're doing shit DPS. You're just gonna have a ton of fun. I mean, yeah, enhanced shamans feel really bad about everything right now, but that's life. I think, yeah, Rets are gonna crank. I don't really see an issue with this. Blood Decay #1, probably the best class of the game.
You know, it's almost a shame because like I think demo and survival, especially with the trap launcher change, should be there somewhere in A and S, but I don't really think Ele deserves to move up out of there. It's just you kind of have to populate the lower tiers, or else if everything's S, then nothing is S type deal.
Yeah, I think I think it's very easy for Shadow to be like argued for S, right? For Shadow to be argued for S, like, is so good. Shadow Priest is so good, and I think it's better than these classes. You know, it's just these classes you can bring multiples of. You could bring a double Shadow. It's just rough. And let me move the Blood DK before people think it's the fact that Blood DK is just plus, dude.
You got to leave that in the thumbnail for sure. The screenshot of that.
Question mark. Blood S plus. I think it's gonna be interesting to see when we get the 30% damage buff. Just how fast bosses die and how that affects things. And the question is, they've dodged the question about us even getting the 30% buff. I would expect it to happen, but they've dodged the question. So we don't know that we're getting a 30% damage buff. So it's hard to like make an assumption that look at this, but fights are 30% shorter, right? And I think once you get gear a few weeks in, as you switch from the list we were looking at earlier, where Unholies are just literally dumpstering everyone and afflictions are just hard carrying your progression, a few weeks in, it changes so much. But also bosses get so fast, or so much easier. Your actual bosses are going to get so much easier. And like, although I did see there are YouTube comments that have said that the Lich King 25-man kill had characters with full bis. It was all characters full bis. So we don't know if that's true or not, but yeah.
You know, I just want to say this, this list is entirely relative. Your experience with other players is going to change the way that you view classes, and that I don't think there's ever been a tier list ever created of what's good in a tier that's ever been universally accepted as the truth. And there's always going to be someone else that thinks some other way about some class. So you're all probably amazing at the classes that you play. Enhancement can be S tier if in the right hands, if it's the best player in your guild playing it. So
in your guild,
don't make plans on like what you're going to play based on an arbitrary tier list. Okay.
Yeah. Play whatever.
Play what
want.
you like. Play what you like to play.
Literally every class is good. These ones are like the only ones that feel a little weaker, but like you can literally play anything in this raid. You're going to pump. We're going to be so fucking geared. Everyone's going to do so much damage. Bosses are going to become very easy. In a speed run comp, these character classes are going to be the crazy ones, but like there's like 3 guilds in the world that are going to min-max it to the optimum, right? And like every other guild is going to do just fine with everything else. You can literally you can min-max it with player over class anytime, you know? So yes, tier lists are always meme for the sake of like it's never the law, and literally you could in your raid easily see like your Unholy with Shadowmourne be the top DPS, or like your Frost be your top DPS, or your Combat be your top DPS. It just like happens all the time. But it's a generalization of how it's going to look until we get Hallion and Ruby Sanctum. I think Ret beats Fury. But I think we get Ruby Sanctum really fast, and it makes that like swap between the two. But until you have Ruby Sanctum, I genuinely think Ret is just going to be beating Fury. And I think that's going to upset some Furies, maybe.
There's like so many caveats in this list, because like a good Fury could be S+, good Ret could be S+, MM isn't as good as we think. It could be B, Affliction could be A or S+, depending on how it's played. Like literally every single class can move easily up or down on this tier list.
I think my biggest question mark is Marksman, personally. Yeah,
Marksman is a giant question mark, and it's all Simcope why I think it's where it is in personal experience.
I kind of think so too. Is that bad?
I think Affliction should be higher, because that's more for sure. But at this point, it's like maybe they're right, maybe they're wrong. We'll see.
Yeah, this is the one that we're gonna need to. Yeah, exactly. I think like Affliction is just always so consistent. It is.
Affliction owns. I mean, it's better than every other class here. Like I don't even know what half these icons are, but like Affliction is just the greatest class to ever have existed. Deserves all the loot. Give your Afflictions all the loot so they can be amazing. Thank you.
Agreed. Agreed. All right, Fumble, thank you for coming and hanging
I
out
got
for
you,
this.
man. Yeah, this is an opinion at the end of the day. This is a huge caveat. This is our opinions, and you know, it's just fun to talk about in theory craft and try to imagine what the meter's gonna look like.
And then wait till the end of the phase and it's like exactly right.
Yeah, it's not. Like I know it's not, and that's just reality, but it's still fun to talk about.
Yeah.
So thanks for having me on. I had a good time talking about this, and I got a lot of angry DMs from Shadow Priest saying I should have said they've been S+, which, you know, in reality they probably should be.
I think Shadow Priests I think Shadow Priests are so good. I definitely think they're in S tier. It's just the only thing was like, do you bring multiple? And then it's like, now you're like, where do we? It's so hard to do that little fucking thing. You know, that little caveat of like, yeah Shadow Priest, the good Shadow Priest is gonna fucking crank. You're gonna see like Shadow Priest just. Yeah,
I mean, I think the only other change I would make is put the shamans together. That's
in C or in B.
In C together.
Oh, Ele Shaman's in shambles.
I think they are either both in B or both in C. Keep them together. So you can make them rise up and leave assassination alone in C. That'd be funny.
You just said delete Shaman.
I didn't say delete Shaman. Rest of Shaman's crank.
Pummel just said delete Shaman. Download Facebook. Go to the gym. 2-button classes out. Sure, I don't care. I love Enhance, and I feel bad that Enhance gets kind of shafted this phase, right? It's just, it feels bad. It's really cool. I saw a screenshot of the comp that killed 25-man heroic Lich King, and they had 2 Enhanced Shamans. So I think,
yeah, for sure.
Yeah. All right. Pummel, thank you for being here. Where can people find your loot sheet so that they can know the absolute 100%, no caveats?
Stop,
you can never question it.
Gonna get me in so much trouble. The Fusion loot sheet will be available for early access on the 27th, and then once Jordy gets back, we'll pick a date to talk about it, and then everybody can get mad at me for underestimating their class and telling me that they get 4 more DPS out of an item over another class, and I'll probably cry myself to sleep from the comments again. So thank you, everybody.
Crankers. Yeah. Thank you, dog. I love you. Later.